everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rachel from Evelyn and Peter, and today I have the Maeve Pullover pattern to share with you guys. So this is the sister design to the Maeve Cardigan that I recently designed. Same stitches and style, just the pullover version instead of the cardigan. So this one is free on my blog, enpcrochet.com. It includes sizes extra small through 5X. So I always recommend heading over to that blog post, and it provides all of the yardage and the materials used to make this, plus it is fully written out in all 9 sizes. I'm making the size small in the video, but you'll want to pull that up, especially if you are making another size, so you can make sure your stitch count and your row counts are correct. This is also available as a kit with Lion Brand. The Lion Brand kit comes with all of the yarn you need to make your pullover. You can change out the color if you want. They have lots of pretty color options for the Heartland yarn. And then it comes with a free copy of the printable PDF digital download of the pattern as well. They always have lots of really good sales, and I send out a newsletter every once in a while letting you guys know whenever they're having decent sales on their kits, or whenever I have a new pattern or anything new that's happening with Evelyn and Peter. So if you want, you can subscribe to my newsletter. That is on my blog as well. I don't spam or give your email address away. And then this is also available in my Etsy shop and in my Ravelry shop as a printable PDF. It's pretty straightforward. Once you get the stitch down, you're just repeating the same thing throughout the pattern. It's worked bottom up, and then you're going to be doing the ribbing here on the neckline at the very end. You can easily customize the length if you want it longer or shorter. You can add as many rows as you want to the back panel just before the shaping section, and then add the same amount of rows to your front panel just before the shaping section, and then just continue on with the neckline shaping as normal. So you can add or remove. And then same thing with the sleeves. If you find that you want your sleeves to be a little bit longer or shorter, you can just add or remove the rows before fastening off, and just make sure you do it to the other side. So I hope you guys enjoy this pattern. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next tutorial. So for this design, you're going to need worsted weight yarn. I'm using Lion Brand's Heartland yarn. This is the color Great Smoky Mountains. All of the exact yardage for all 9 sizes is available on my blog, enpcrochet.com. I will link to it in the description. And then you're also going to need a 5.5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a needle to weave in your ends, and then a couple of stitch markers as well. So both the front and the back panel start off the same, and your front and back panel will be the same width. I am starting with the front panel here, so go ahead and make a slip knot, then just insert your hook and pull tight to secure. We're going to begin with the ribbing portion of the panel. And all of the sizes will be the same for the starting row of the ribbing, the starting chain. We're going to go ahead and just chain 11. So yarn over and pull through a total of 11 times. And then for row 1, we're going to be working our way back down that starting chain. So for row 1, we're going to be working single crochet stitches back down. I'm going to rotate my work, and in the back bump, insert my hook, and then yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through both loops. And you're just going to do that all the way down the row. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 2, working 1 single crochet into each of the back bumps of that chain. When you get to the end of the chain, you should have a total of 10 single crochet stitches. Then you can go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. And now we're going to begin row 2. In that very first stitch, insert your hook, and then just work a single crochet. And then in the following, you're going to be working your single crochet in the back loop only. So the loop that's furthest away from you, you can insert your hook and work a single crochet stitch. And then you're going to do it into the following stitches as well. So in the loop furthest away from you, which is the back loop only, just work a single crochet into each one of them. You're going to do this all the way down the row until you get to the very last stitch, where we will be finishing with just a regular single crochet. Okay, so I'm at my last stitch here. I'm going to put my hook under both the front and the back loop and work one last single crochet. So we still have 10 single crochet stitches here. You have the first one is single crochet under both loops, and then 8 through the back loop only, and then your final one under both loops, chain 1 and turn your work. And now that row that I just showed you is what you're going to be repeating over and over again for the remainder of the ribbing. So again, single crochet in the first, back loop only across till the end, single crochet in the end. Go ahead and repeat that row 2 over and over until you make the correct amount of rows for your size. You can follow along with the written pattern to make sure you are on track with the right amount. So here is my ribbing rows here. And now I'm going to be working row 1 of the main body of the front panel. So after you work that last ribbing row, don't turn your work and don't fasten off. We're just going to be working across the top of the ribbing here. So you can start off with a chain 2. This does not count as your stitch. And then yarn over, and in the end of that very last ribbing row that you made, you're going to insert your hook into the end of that row. You're not working into the top of a stitch, just the end of a row, and then yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through all 3 for 1 half double crochet. And then you're going to do the same thing into the end of the second ribbing row. So find the end of that next row, yarn over, insert your hook into it, and then yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through all 3. And you're just going to repeat this all the way across the length of your ribbing, locating the end of each of the rows, and then working a half double crochet into the end of that row. So if you need to, you can adjust slightly where you're putting your hook. You just want to find where it looks best for you because you're not putting it into an actual stitch, just into the side of the row. So go ahead and work your way all the way across to the end. Okay, so I've worked my way across. I have the same amount of half double crochet stitches that I do ribbing rows, so you can check your stitch count and make sure you are on track for your size. And now we're going to begin row 2. So for that, you can chain 3. This chain 3 does count as a stitch, so it goes towards your stitch count and counts as 1 double crochet. Now yarn over twice, and because this counts as a stitch, we're not working into the very first stitch of the row, and then we're also going to skip over 2 stitches. So then in that following stitch is where we're going to be working our first treble crochet. So skip over 2, and then yarn over twice and insert your hook into that following stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook, and then yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops only, and then yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through the final 2 loops for 1 treble crochet. So we have our chain 3, which is our double, and then we skipped the next 2 stitches, worked a treble, and now we need to go back and work a double crochet into those 2 missed stitches. So yarn over and working behind the treble that you just made. So instead of doing it in front, you're going to go behind. Find that first stitch that you skipped and work a double crochet into it, and then into the next one as well. So yarn over, find that second stitch that you skipped, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have our chain 3, skip 2, treble, and then 1 double crochet in each of those skipped stitches. We're going to do the same thing, skip 2 stitches, work a treble crochet into the following, and then we need to go back and work a double crochet into that very first skipped stitch. We're doing it behind the treble stitch, and then again work a double crochet into the second skipped stitch, once again working behind the treble crochet. And that's what we're going to be repeating all the way across the row. Skip 2, treble, double in the first skipped, double in the second skipped, all the way to the end of the row until you have 1 stitch remaining. When you have this last stitch remaining, you can go ahead and just work a double crochet stitch into it to finish off the row. Okay, so that completes row 2. Your work might start arching a little bit. That's completely normal. Your ribbing stitches are tighter than the main body stitches. So it's totally normal for it to do that and for the panel to widen out some. And now we're going to begin row 3. So go ahead and chain 2. And then the chain 2 does not count as a stitch. So you're going to work your first half double crochet into that very first stitch of the row. and then we're just going to be working half double crochet stitches all the way across. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. Do that in each stitch all the way to the end. I will meet you at the end of the row to show you how to finish the row. So once you get to the end here, you still have this chain 3. You can't forget to work your final half double crochet into the top of the chain 3. So that's easy to miss when you're working it up. Don't forget to work your last stitch into it, because remember, the double crochet or the chain 3 at the start of the previous row did count as a double crochet, so you'll always end in the top of the chain 3 for that row repeat. So now we've just completed row 3, and these last 2 rows, rows 2 and 3, are what you're going to be repeating over and over for the remainder of this panel. So again, you skip that very first stitch that the chain 3 is in because it counts as a stitch, and then you skip 2 stitches, work a treble crochet into the following, go back and work a double in the first skip stitch and a double in the second skipped stitch, and you repeat that all the way across. And then just when you get to the end, do the same thing, turn and work your half double crochet stitches all the way back, repeating rows 2 and 3 for the remainder of the panel until we start shaping the neckline. So make sure you have the correct row count that you need before continuing on to shape the neckline here. Okay, so now I'm beginning the right shoulder shaping of the front panel. So we're going to start off this row with how we normally would, chain 2 and start working your half double crochet stitches, but now we're not going to go all the way across the row. We're only going to go part of the ways across and then stop and leave the remaining stitches unworked. So make sure you have your size pulled up with the written pattern here so you know how many stitches to go over before stopping and turning. Each size will have a different count of how far you go over, so just make sure you're watching that. And then when you have the correct amount of stitches for your size, you can go ahead and turn your work. And now this following row is just going to be a row 2 repeat. So for that, you're just going to do the same thing as you normally would. You're going to chain 3, still counts as a double crochet here. And then you're going to, again, work your treble, skip 2, work your treble, and then work your double crochets in those skipped stitches. So it's the same thing as normal. The only thing we've done so far is only work part of the way across before stopping and turning and beginning the next row. So go ahead and just do your regular stitch repeat all the way to the end. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my work and start row 37 for the size small. Again, you might be on a different row if you are working a different size, so don't pay attention to my row and stitch counts if you're doing something different. And it's just going to start off the same way. We're going to chain 2, work our half double crochet stitches. We're going to go all the way almost to the end here, but now we're going to be doing some shaping before beginning the next row. So I have 5 stitches remaining, including the chain 3, because that does count as a stitch. So work across until you have 5 remaining. It'll be the same for each size. And now we're going to be doing a little bit of decreasing here. So yarn over, and in the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, insert your hook into the following stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook. We're going to do that again. Yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert our hook into the following stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook. So we just did 2 half double crochet 2 togethers, and then we have 1 stitch remaining here, which is the chain 3. And we're going to be leaving it unworked. So do not work into the top of the chain 3. You're just going to leave it unworked. And now all we did was half double crochet across and then 2 decreases, and then we left the last stitch unworked to finish off the row. So each of the sizes will have decreased by 3 stitches in your stitch count after that row. And then the following row is just going to be a regular row 2 repeat. You're going to chain 3, skip 2, work your treble, and then go back and work your double crochets. And then just continue with your regular stitch repeat across. And again, after you complete this row, it'll be the same you'll have the same amount of stitches as the previous row that we just decreased in. So you can go ahead and work your way to the end of the row. Okay, I just completed my row, and now we're going to be turning our work and chain 2, and we're just going to half double crochet across. So this is just a regular row 3 repeat. Work 1 half double crochet into the top of each stitch. There's no more decreasing or anything like that. So you'll still have the same stitch count as the previous row. So just go ahead and work your way across. You'll be finishing with your final half double crochet into the top of the chain 3, and then you can go ahead and fasten off to finish this side. You'll want to leave a tail long enough to sew the last row that you made to your back panel. So just leave a little bit of length so that you can get that sewn on, and you can fasten off your work. And now we need to do the same thing on the other side and create the left shoulder. Place your front panel out in front of you. You want wrong side facing up with the finished shoulder on the right hand side. And now we need to join in and attach our yarn. We want to be going the same direction, so you actually need to count in from the left hand side here, count over the same amount of stitches that you have in the same row on the other side. So it'll tell you in the written pattern how many stitches you need to count in, but it'll be the same thing as the opposite side that you've already made. And then join in with a slip stitch. I'm joining mine into the 26th stitch here so that I have the same that I did on this side. And then we're going to be leaving the inner neckline stitches unworked, and then just go ahead and slip stitch and chain 2. So now we're just going to do a regular repeat of our half double crochet stitches across the remaining stitches in the row. So chain 2, and in that same stitch that you joined, work your first half double crochet, and then work a half double crochet into all the stitches across to the end. And then once you get to the end of the row, go ahead and turn your work and then just do a normal row 2 repeat all the way back to the other side. So half double crochet down and then do a row 2 repeat back. You can see I'm at the end of the row here now with my row 2 repeat. I'm just going to finish it like we normally have been doing. So I have 1 stitch remaining. I'm just going to finish a double crochet into the top of that last half double crochet. So we've just done a regular row 2 repeat, and now the next row is where we're going to be doing the shaping, the same thing that we did on this side here with the decreases. It's just going to be slightly different. So go ahead and turn your work. And now we're going to match it to the other side. So instead of beginning with a chain 2 and working a stitch into the first stitch, we're not going to chain, and we're also not going to work a stitch into the first stitch of this row. So it might feel a little weird not chaining and not working anything into it, but we're going to skip over it. And then in the second stitch of the row, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then in the following, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook to decrease. So we didn't chain, we skipped the first one, then we did a half double crochet 2 together, and then you're going to do the same thing in the following 2 stitches, work a second half double crochet together over them. So skip the first stitch, half double crochet 2 together twice, and then just work a half double crochet in each of the remaining stitches across. Okay, so just like on the other side, that will have decreased our stitch count by 3. And when you get to the end of the row, you can turn your work and go ahead and chain 3 like normal, and this will be our regular row 2 repeat. So just work your way across the row like normal, doing your treble and then your 2 doubles and the skip stitches. There's no more decreasing now, just like on the other side. So just work your way to the end like normal. And then when you get to the end of the row, you can go ahead and turn your work and just do a row 3 repeat and working your half double crochet stitches back across like normal as well. Your stitch count stays the same, so no more decreasing, just work your normal row 2 and row 3 repeat. Okay, and then when you get to the end of the row here, you can go ahead and fasten off. Again, you'll just want to leave a tail long enough to sew this last row that we made to your back panel, same thing as on the other side. So now we have our neckline shaping for the front panel complete. This is what it's going to look like. And now we need to be doing the same thing and create our back panel. It'll work up exactly the same up until we get to the neckline shaping area. That is going to be different, and the amount of rows that you make before you start the shaping is different as well. So just pay attention to that. But your ribbing starts off the exact same way. You'll make the same amount of rows of ribbing on the back panel that you did on this front panel, and then row 1, 2, and 3 are the same, and then just repeat rows 2 and 3 over and over and over again until you have the correct row count before you need to start the shaping of the back panel. So again, just pay close attention to how many rows you need before you start doing the neckline. It's going to have a couple more rows than the front panel did. So go ahead and do that, and then I will meet you here to show you how to do the shaping of the back panel neckline. Okay, so now you should have the back panel almost complete and be ready to do the neckline shaping. This is only a couple rows of shaping on the back panel, so make sure you have the right row count. We're actually going to be doing the left shoulder first and only having 2 rows of shaping. And we're actually going to be doing the double crochet row here to work part of the ways across instead of the half double crochet row like on the front panel. So chain 3 like normal, it still counts as a stitch, and then just do your regular stitch repeat, skip 2, 1 treble crochet in the following, and then go back and work your 2 double crochet in the skipped stitches. And you're going to be repeating this across for only a certain amount of time. So for the size small, I'm just going to repeat that again 6 more times. So I did my first one, and then I'm going to do that again 6 more times. So you can see I have a total of 7 treble stitches made here. It'll be different for each size, so make sure you have that written pattern up. And then I'm just going to finish with a double crochet into the next stitch, and I'm going to leave the remaining stitches of the row unworked. So we're just working part of the way across just like we did on the first panel. And then we're going to be turning our work and then just work a row 3 repeat like normal. So no decreasing in this one, it's just ending the row early with the stitch count that we have on the last row of the front panel, and then turning and half double crochet stitching all the way back, same stitch count, and then just go ahead and fasten off your work. You don't need to leave a long tail on this one, just cut it like normal. And then your stitch count for this last row will be the same as your stitch count last row of the front panel. So now we need to do the same thing on the other side, just like we did before. We're going to be working our right shoulder now. So with your finished shoulder on the right hand side still, and your work is now right side facing up, you're going to count in the same amount of stitches that you have on the first complete side. So for the size small for me, I'm counting in 23 stitches. It's not 26 like the front panel because remember we didn't do any decreasing on the back and we only have 2 rows here for the neckline. So I'm counting in 23, and then I'm just doing a row 2 repeat. So again, same thing, the same stitch that you joined in with a slip stitch, you're going to chain 3 and then skip the next 2 stitches, work a treble, go back and work your 2 doubles, and then just do your regular stitch repeat across. So this is really, really simple. We're just making a couple of rows that are shorter to create the neckline on the back panel here. So no decreasing, just work your stitch repeat across. When you get to the end, you can go ahead and turn your work and work a row 3 repeat back, just working your half double crochet stitches. So I'm back at the end here. Don't forget your last half double crochet in the top of the chain 3, and then you can go ahead and fasten off your work to complete the back panel. So next we need to make our sleeves. I already have one sleeve complete and I need to make a second one. It's going to be exactly the same as the first sleeve. And we actually start off the same way as we do the front and back panel as well with the ribbing. The only difference in the sleeve compared to the back and front panel is going to be how we do row 1 of the main body of the sleeve. So I will show you how to do that. But you can start off just like you did the back and the front panel by chaining 11. And then again, in the second chain from the hook in the back bump, you're just going to work a single crochet stitch into it, and then work a single crochet stitch into each of the remaining chains for a total of 10 single crochet stitches. And then go ahead and work your ribbing the same exact way. Chain 1, turn your work a single crochet in the first, and then single crochet back loop only all the way across to the end, and then a single crochet to finish that row 2, and then just repeat row 2 as many times as it calls for your sweater size. So go ahead and work up your ribbing rows, and then once you have your ribbing complete like I do here, we're going to work the first row of the main body of the sleeve. So chain 2, and then in the end of that first row, just like you have before, work a half double crochet into it. And now we're going to actually be increasing across the row. So into the end of that same row where you just made your first stitch, work a second half double crochet. And then we're going to do that for each of the rows. Into the end of the next row, work 2 half double crochet stitches into the same spot. And then into the end of the following row, do the same thing, work 2 half double crochet stitches into the same spot, and do that for each ribbing row all the way across. Essentially, we're just doubling our stitch count here to widen out the sleeves. So go ahead and work your way to the end. Depending on your size, you might end with 1 half double crochet into the last stitch, or you might end with 2 half double crochet into the last. So it's really important to just check the written pattern for your size to make sure you know which one you need to be doing. Your sleeve will look wavy and crazy and weird, but that's normal. It's going to straighten out as we go. So that completes row 1 of the main body. We're moving on to row 2, and from here on out it's the same exact thing as the front and the back panel. So you chain 3, that still counts as a stitch, skip the next 2, work your treble, go back and work your 2 doubles, repeat across. And then same for row 3 as well. You're just doing your half double crochet row all the way across, working 1 half double crochet into each of the stitches. So same thing as you've been doing, repeat rows 2 and 3 over and over until you have the amount of rows that are required for your size. So this is what your sleeve is going to look like once it's complete. You can see how it starts to straighten out. This is a drop shoulder style pullover. So the bigger the sweater that you're making, the shorter your sleeves need to be. That's why the bigger sizes has a smaller row count. But these are super easy to customize. I know everyone has different length arms, so you can easily make adjustments to that by adding or removing rows in multiples of 2. I like to kind of just place them on my arm and place the sweater on my arm once I have the shoulder seam and kind of hold it together to see what the length is looking like before I join everything in. So that's always an option to do as well. And then make sure you leave a long tail for seaming. Once you have all 4 panels made, we need to join them together. You're going to place your front and back panel together, right sides facing. So the right side is the side that you can see the treble crochet stitch on. It's really easy to identify in this sweater, so make sure those sides are facing each other. And now we're going to be seaming the shoulders together. So you should have a long tail remaining from the front panel, and you're just going to take your needle and sew the last row of the shoulder of the front panel to the last row of the shoulder to the back panel. You can use any preferred method here. It does not matter, whichever stitch you like to use for seaming, or if you prefer to use your hook and slip stitch across, you can do that as well. I'm going to use my needle here and just do a mattress stitch to join them together. But again, it's your preferred seaming method. There's no way that you have to do it. You can do it however you like. So just go ahead and do that. Make sure you don't skip any stitches or bunch them together. Make sure you're just keeping it even as you go and holding it in place. You can use a stitch marker if you need to, but just go ahead and sew the first side together and then do the same thing on the other side as well. Okay, once you have the shoulders joined in, we need to join in the sleeves. Again, this is the point where you can try on your front and back panel over your head and then hold your sleeve up against it. You can pin it in place and kind of hold it on to see if you like the length of your sleeve. That way you can adjust if you want. And then go ahead and place your sleeve flush with the side of your sweater, and you'll want to find the center of the sleeve panel, so in the middle of halfway across in between the stitches, and place your stitch marker right at the shoulder seam. And then you want to count down the same amount of rows on either side of both the front and the back panel, and place the second stitch marker at the same spot as where you're going to start. So you can count in and make sure you have the same amount of rows. That way it's nice and even. The middle of the sleeve should be exactly center with the shoulder seam. And then we're just going to do the same thing that we did for joining at the shoulders. Make sure your right sides are facing as you sew together. And then just go ahead and take your needle and again sew down the length, making sure your stitch markers are there to hold it in place. And then once you get to that middle stitch marker, you can remove it and continue all the way to the end. Make sure that your sleeve is nice and flat and not bunched up. That way it's sewn on evenly as you go. And then once you get to the end, you need to do the same thing on the other side as well to join in the second sleeve. So once you have your sleeve joined in at the shoulder, we also need to sew from the cuff to the underarm and then the underarm down to the hem, or you can join in at the bottom and work your way up and then across the sleeve. Or if you have enough yarn left over from joining in your sleeve, you can use that and just go either way so that you can use less yarn and do less joining. And then just do the same thing on the other side as well. Sew the side together just as you did here. Once your panels are all sewn, we need to add in the neckline ribbing. So we're going to do that with our right sides facing out now. So you have the right side of the pullover out, and just bring in a new piece of yarn. You can really join in wherever you prefer, but I like to do it up at the shoulder seam just to the left of it. And then I'm just going to join in with a slip stitch here. So up right in the area of the last half double crochet row. And then I am going to just chain one and work a single crochet into that same spot, and then single crochet evenly all around the opening of the sweater. So it's going to work out to be approximately one single crochet per end of half double crochet row and about 2 single crochet for each chain 3 row. It is totally okay if you need to adjust this by a couple of stitches. If you find that you need a couple more or less stitches, you can easily make those adjustments. Just make sure you're not putting in too many stitches, or that will make our work wavy. So you're going to work that on the decrease sections in the sides of the rows, and then when you get to the back of the panel, you're going to work 1 single crochet into each of these stitches across the back, and then again work the single crochet into the sides, and then also work single crochet stitch into each of the stitches along the bottom of the neckline, working your way around. So once you get to the end here, I do like to work a single crochet stitch into the shoulder seams as well, just to kind of close that in and make it look neat. And then when you get to the last or to the first single crochet that you made, you can just slip stitch to join. So the exact stitch count for the sizes doesn't matter here, just try and keep it even. And now we're going to be working our ribbing directly off of our sweater. So to do that, you need to chain 5. And now in the second chain from the hook in that back bump, work a single crochet into it, and then work a single crochet into those last 3 chains as well. So we're working a total of 4 single crochet stitches. and we're just working our way back down to the round 1 of the neckline. So total of 4 single crochet. It might be a little confusing if you've never done it this way before, but if you made my cardigan, it's the same thing that we did to make the ribbing on the opening of the cardigan, just doing it in the round around the neckline. So we've worked our way back down, and now we're going to be working 1 slip stitch into the next stitch that is unworked of round 1. So find that next single crochet. Make sure you're not slip stitching into the same one that you already have worked into. Find the next one and then just slip stitch to join. And now we're going to turn our work and work our way back up those 4 single crochet stitches that we've made. You can chain 1 here if you want. I prefer not to. So I'm just going to go directly into working a single crochet in the back loop only into that first single crochet stitch. And then I'm going to work a single crochet in the back loop only into the next one, and then same into the third one. And then when I get to the last single crochet here, I'm going to work under both the front and the back loop. So put your stitch under the front and the back in that last stitch here, and then just work a single crochet like normal. That's a total of 4 stitches, and then chain 1 on this end and turn your work. Okay, so now we're going to do a single crochet under both the front and back loop for the first one. And then in the following 3 single crochet stitches, work it in the back loop only. So work our first one in the back loop only, and then the final 2 in the back loop only to complete the row. So we still have a total of 4 single crochet here. And now we're just going to be slip stitching over again into round 1 of the neckline, but from here on out you'll be slip stitching twice. Because we've worked our way down and back, that's 2 rows, so we need to slip stitch 2 times so that we keep our stitch count even. So in the following stitch where you haven't worked anything yet, insert your hook and work a slip stitch. And then into the stitch after that one, work another slip stitch. So we have 2 slip stitches, 1 in each of the empty single crochets, the next 2 of the round, and then turn your work. And then we're just going to be repeating what I just showed you. Again, I don't chain 1 here. I just work a single crochet in the back loop only in the first 3, and then a single crochet under the front and the back loop for the last one, and then chain 1 and turn your work. And then do the same thing as you did before to work your way back down. Work a single crochet in the first stitch under both the front and the back loop, and then work your last 3 single crochet stitches into the back loop only. So you're just going to repeat that all the way around the opening of the neckline. Again, after you work your last single crochet here, you're going to slip stitch into the next unworked stitch of the round. It can get a little confusing. Make sure you're not accidentally putting it in the same one as before. Working into the next, and then work a second slip stitch into the following stitch after that. So 2 slip stitches, and then just repeat those rows that I showed you over and over, working all the way around, and then I will show you how to complete it when we get back to the beginning here. Okay, so we have worked our way around for the neckline ribbing, and you can see that I have 1 stitch remaining here. Depending on how many stitches you had, whether you had an odd or an even stitch count, you might have 1 stitch remaining, or you might have 2 stitches remaining. If you have 2, just do the same thing, slip stitch twice, work your way down and back to complete the ribbing rows, and then we'll just sew the first and last row together. If you have 1 stitch remaining, you're just going to slip stitch 1 time into that last remaining stitch, and then just work 1 more row so that you're ending on the other side. So Either way is fine. It just depends if you have 1 or 2 remaining. It's just going to be slightly different. So I only had 1 remaining, so I'm going to slip stitch into it and now just work my final row. So I'm going to turn my work and then work in the back loop only for the first 3, and then work a single crochet into the final one as well. If you had slip stitched twice, you'll go ahead and you'll continue down with your final row. Now you would turn and slip stitch and single crochet back to the beginning. But because I only have 1, I'm going to stop here, and now I'm just going to join my first and last row together. You can fasten off here if you would prefer and use your needle and just sew the first and last row together, or you can fold it in half like I'm doing here. The right sides are facing each other, so the outside of the sweater is facing, and then I'm just going to slip stitch my 4 stitches together with my hook. So either way is totally fine. It's just personal preference, whatever you would like to do. I'm just going to put my hook through both the stitches of both rows and then yarn over and pull through to join, working through all 4 stitches. Then after it's joined, you can go ahead and just fasten off, and that completes the neckline ribbing. And then all that's remaining is weaving in any ends that you have, and that is the end of this tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe, and I will catch you in the next tutorial.